Righto, today something a little bit unusual for me. Normally I would do videos on how to fix stuff like bikes or home theatre amplifiers, stuff like that. But today I've picked up a pair of Peterson BR11 Laboratory speakers. Now, from the little bit I can find on Google, these were made between the late 70s and the 80s by obviously a guy called Peterson. He had a HiFi shop in Melbourne, and basically he imported drivers probably back then from Taiwan and had the cabinets, chipboard cabinets, built in Sydney. So he put these together. Now these are 8-inch drivers, so I believe one is active and one is passive, and then got a 3-inch mid-range and then a 2-inch cone tweeter. Now these ones aren't in great condition. There's a tiny tear around the perimeter. I haven't had an opportunity to run some PVA around the perimeter there to glue them, but they do actually sound surprisingly good. I'll put some music through them so you can have a bit of a listen. And they're also ported, you'll notice, 2-inch port going all the way through. So let's put at least a frequency sweep and some music through them. So medium to high listening levels, these are actually quite nice sounding. I think there's no power rating on these. I would nominally put them at anywhere between probably 30 to 60 watts and probably not a great deal more peak music power output above that. So certainly not 100 watt monsters from the 90s or the noughties. Okay, let's start at 1 kilohertz. Still getting a little bit of flutter, so it looks like they're bottoming out around about 50 hertz, almost nothing at 40 hertz. So I'm going to crank that volume up a little bit. So I'm running them through a Harman Kardon HK610, which I know from a little bit of research is a 30 watt per channel amplifier. Now, so 49 hertz. There we go, getting some cone excursion there, a bit hard to see, but I can see it. 14 hertz. It's not bad. So, and I can look at the cone excursion, and comments were that one of these speakers was driven, the other one was passive. So one was acting as a radiator, but from what I'm seeing, these are both driven, because I can see that they're both fluttering in phase with each other. You might not be able to see that on the video. Fascinating. Okay, let's take this speaker connection off and see what we see. I'm expecting something ugly, and absolutely some non-polarized capacitors as crossovers. So there's actually no crossover in this thing. There is baffling, and it looks like it's quite densely packed in there, but there are no crossovers. So super cheap build quality. That would be probably 15mm or 12mm chipboard. Anyway, BR11 Peterson Laboratory speakers. Wow, they've even got an inspection and a serial number. How good is that? But I said no power output, or no power rating, and certainly no efficiency. Now the other thing that is tucked in behind here is this little triangle saying that these Peterson speakers are part of the digital program series, and on the back, hilariously, let's read this out. The new technology with the coming soon of PCM, pulse code modulation, discs, laser techniques, and now widely used DBX, greater demand will be made on the loudspeaker and components. With dynamic range expansions up to 120 dB, speakers will have to handle much larger power ranges without distortion. This speaker has been designed to accommodate them. So this talking about PCM, pulse code modulation, so this is very, very early technology, techno babble from the early 80s, and it probably would have coincided with, I'm guessing, 1982, 1983, with the development of PCM technologies. So pulse code modulation was how Sony Betamax recorded their audio onto their tapes, and also techniques used for things like a digital audio tape, CD players, but certain technologies that were emerging around the early 80s. So these probably means these were not a 70s build, but a 1980s technology build.